Hello everyone, it's Jackie. Welcome back to my channel. I've got a different sort of share for you today, something I've been working on recently, initially for myself, but I'm not so sure now. I am just going to wrap it on for a few minutes, so if you don't want to listen, obviously, but want to see the journal, skip forward, otherwise just move on. I really don't mind. But I just want to tell you a little bit how this came about. I've been junk journaling for a long time, 10 years probably, and if you go right back down my timeline you'll find junk journals way back, and before that I made mini albums, but I did take a break for a couple of years due to work and one thing and another, and when I came back to it a couple of years ago I came across Miss Angie and absolutely fell in love with her style. It's not my style, but I just loved it, and everybody I speak about, I will put a link underneath so you can find them. She actually doesn't have a YouTube channel, but I'll tell you how you can find her if you don't know her already. And then I found Susie from Shabby Soul, and I do have one of her journals. This really is a homage to her, Miss Angie, Kathy Cadile, Joyce Kerrs, Gibbid, Neary, and more recently Heidi McGregor and Angela Kerr here in the UK, and of course Wendy's Journal Adventures. My friend Wendy also was very inspired by Miss Angie and did her own version of one of these. I've taken a few classes and I will put the links for those below. I've taken a Lally Mill class called The Little Book of Whispers. The names are going to go now. Robin Dudley Howes, I've taken one of her classes, and a more recent class, and that name has gone, but I'll look it up and put it down below. Anyway, let's show you this journal. It's I made it initially with soft covers. The covers are 5 by 7 1/4. The pages are a bit smaller, and it ended up with a 2 1/4 spine. I made it with a soft cover to start with, but that was too much for me, too floppy. I love it when other people do it, but so in the end I did a version of Nick the Booksmith's Carpetbagger journal, and it's basically fabric over chipboard, and then I put this hand stitch together this vintage lace and glued it onto the spine. I've layered up the cover with corrugated card, some old book page, some lace, and this is an original cabinet card, and in the end I did put a closure on it, which is my usual sari silk through eyelets, sorry. Okay, so inside, at the moment, it's just fabric. I have grunged this up quite a lot as well. It was quite pale, and I just used ink to grunge it up. I've also used a lot of my own relatives in this book, and this actually is my great-great-grandmother. So I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail about what I've done because I think it's fairly obvious, but it's a substrate underneath of various papers, craft cardstock, some rag paper, that type of thing, and then I've layered other vintage papers usually on top of that. Excuse me. I also made the signatures first and decorated them, which is very different from the way I usually make a journal, and I actually found it quite hard doing it that way, so that's why the cover is so much larger. That wasn't intended to be. So my great-great-grandmother. This is a pocket page with an envelope made in Tracy Fox style with a bit of music paper. This is a sticker on the back here. This lady, this is a new die cut I've got recently. I used to have some old slides, but I've run out of those. This is a little bigger, but I do like that look. This is my grandmother, so this lady's granddaughter. and again it's layered up with bits and pieces. And then I've done a fabric little flip there with some old post office paper underneath. This is a fabric pocket with just a little card in it, and this is some modern wallpaper. I've just stamped on that. This is some papers layered up as a ruffle, and this is a fabric tag on some old lace. This is the other side of the Edith Holden page, and I've just put a die cut tag in there. This is my grandmother again on her wedding day. She got married just after the First World War. And this is her mother, so my great-grandmother, plain card in there. This one, this idea I've taken directly from Susie at Shabby Soul. I've done something similar before actually in my journals, but it's just an envelope that I've decorated a little bit and then torn back to make a pocket, and that's just a tag in there using a Mrs. Cog image this time. Quite an eclectic journal, I guess. Sticker page and just a little fabric snippet on there, a bit of stamping. This is my grandmother again, and a botanical card. This is another little corner pocket with a tag. This is the negative. I just had this scrap in my scrap box, and I think I put some book page and then some tea-dyed tracing paper behind that. So that's the first signature. Got another snippet here. You can see I'm getting a bit neater. I'm trying desperately to be shabby, but it's not always working. This is an old postcard, or reproduction of a postcard, and a little tag in there. And I've put "The ones we love are no longer there" as a little reference to my relatives. This one is not a relative, it's a found relative, but I really liked that lady's outfit and her two little children, and I wanted to put another frame in. It's a Tim Holtz frame. That will slot down into there. I can't make a journal without a flower fairy, so I've used a 1960s vintage envelope, popped a flower fairy in there, and in the back it's just a journal card. It's a little bit of fake ephemera there, and an old tea card. And this is from the Tim Holtz people. Some lace layered up. This one I've done a little hanging, I don't know who this, I saw this on, or something similar to this on Pinterest, and I don't know who that is, but I thought that was a nice idea, to take a dictionary page. It's just a collage page. This is my great-grandmother and my grandmother. This one is layered up with a piece from a vintage magazine, and I put a floral journal card in there. Little corner collage. This I've just put die cut. This is some layered up charm. The Child No One Ever Saw. This journal is, bits of it are quite personal to me, I guess. I put a library card in this pocket. It says "The house was quiet," and I've done a similar thing to the heart charm, but I've used a circle. And this is my great-grandmother, and this is my grandmother and her sister and two brothers. I think that must have been taken in about 1890, approximately. This is a little card, a little tag made from the gardening book. This is a Tim Holtz person. There's a bit of stamping on that page. Some little die cuts. This is a Tracy Fox mini piece that I've turned into a stamp. Another tag clipped in there. This envelope does open and it's got some bits and pieces in it. This is another of those floral cards. I have another Mrs. Cog image on this tag. Put some fancy stitching down the side of that. Got a tissue ruffle. This is just a few bits and pieces put together to make something to put in this fabric pocket, I guess. I was thinking at the time. Some of the Mrs. Cog image in a doily pocket and the Tim Holtz. This is Tracy Fox tea card. This is an embossed journal card and another charm put together. Fabric snippet. Everything's quite a tight fit. This is just a collage page. This I've seen various people do, including Susie, so it's just a bit of old doily, and this time I've used decorative stitch around the journal card. This is the centre, and we've got what's this, a cabinet card that I've copied, a little boho snippet in there. This is a piece of tablecloth, I think, and I've put a journal card behind that. Another fabric flap. This is a little pocket with some ephemera in the back of it. And on the last page I put another of those journal cards and a fabric snippet here, and that's the back of the book. So if you've stayed with me all this time, thank you, I admire you, and I'll be back soon to share some swap journals that I've been making, and I will be back with a tag tutorial quite soon. Thank you.